Hello and welcome. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Greenwich Live Sessions. This is your host Umar Khan, and I'm back with another show, another session full of guests because आज का जो हमारा डे होता है that is Friday, जहां हम literature review करते हैं. और आज का जो literature review है वो बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक पे, ऐसा टॉपिक जिसको हम रोजाना हमारी नज़रों से गुजरते तो हैं, खासतौर पर उन लोगों की नज़रों से जहाँ जिनके घरों में टॉडलर्स मौजूद हैं, बच्चे मौजूद हैं, जगह जगह से आवाज आ रही होती है, बेबी शार्क डू 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 डू. सो बेसिकली व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू टुडे इज वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द डार्क ओरिजिन्स ऑफ चिल्ड्रंस राइम. और उसके लिए आज मैं काफ़ी एक्साइटेड यूँ हूँ कि हमारे साथ आज हमारे बड़े अजीज, हम सबके फेवरेट सर मुर्तज़ा सैयद मौजूद हैं. एंड मुर्तज़ा सैयद का मैं कहाँ से इंट्रोडक्शन शुरू करूँ. एक तो हमारे बड़े फेवरेट लेक्चरर हैं, लिटरेचर की इनकी बड़ी नॉलेज है और हम सबके बड़े फेवरेट हैं. और सबसे खुशी की बात मुझे ये है कि मैं बड़े अरसे से कह रहा था सर शो पे आ जाएं, सर शो पे आ जाएं. फाइनली आज सर हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं. सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम एंड वेलकम टू द शो.
Thank you so much, Umar. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
सर अभी तो बस आगे बढ़ेगा as the show goes on. So let's just introduce my co-host for today. And we have with us Sundus Anwar. मैंने ठीक बोला सुंदस? आपके नाम को लेके आप काफी मौजूद हैं. और आज हम बेबी राइम्स के बारे में बात करेंगे. रेड राइडिंग हुड बन के खुद आई हुई हैं. So like now Sundus, I want you to introduce rest of our guests and students.
Okay, we'll start with Aisha Adil. First of all, thank you so much, Umar, for this great opportunity. Love the literature review that's starting now. We have with us Aisha Adil. She's doing her master's in literature at Greenwich University. She's a teacher of OA levels. She's undergraduate and postgraduate visiting lecturer at Jinnah Medical and Dental College. She's a co-owner of Academia UK, spearheading on pages for awareness of mental and disability health on Facebook. The next we have with us is Faiza Shiraz, student of Masters in English Literature and a freelance writer and a blogger.
Right. So
thank you for having us here, Sundus.
You're all very welcome. अब शुरुआत कर रहे हैं क्योंकि आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो बड़ा ही एक मजेदार है. just directly go to सर मुर्तज़ा. सर मुर्तज़ा, हर घर में जहाँ बच्चा होता है वहाँ से कहीं ना कहीं से आवाज आ रही होती है, बेबी शार्क टू 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 टू, मैरी हैड अ लिटिल. बट आज जो हमारा टॉपिक ऑफ डिस्कशन है दैट इज अ पर्सपेक्टिव दैट पीपल नॉट नोटिस मच. तो आज हम क्या बात करने वाले हैं बेसिकली?
All right, we're talking about nursery rhymes itself, and to be completely fair, before I do talk about the main topic, I need to tell that we do owe a portion of what we are today to nursery rhymes. I mean, you were speaking about toddlers. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter at home, and I did not teach her any of the body parts, and she's like head, shoulders, knees and toes. So she knows everything, given credit to those nursery rhymes. And they are the stepping stones into literature. I mean, they're responsible for the fine tweaking of our pre-literary skills, and we owe them the appreciation that we hold today of literature today, of art today. May it be movies, books, stories, or poems. If you appreciate a good movie, a good poem, so it's because of literary rhymes. It is because those nursery rhymes are there for you. And not only that, they're also enabling us to develop our speech and language, our listening skills, our reading, our speaking, motor skills, and even coordination. But of course, we are not here today to accredit them for their contribution of our well-being. We are here to understand and discuss the adverse effects that they have subtly impinged into our unconscious mind, and they have churned us to our perceptions, to our liking, to their liking. So if I'll sum it out for people, it's like they have come into our houses, stayed there, lingered, and corroded. So they've corroded our minds. They've stayed there for so long, and it's something that is oblivious to a lot of people. So we are here to explore on those factions. So yeah, that's what I've got to say.
Right. And when I got to know about this, that today we'll be discussing the nursery rhymes, and especially from a very different perspective, so I was very excited. So I'll move to Sundus now. And Sundus, क्या करने वाले हैं हम, क्या बात करने वाले हैं, कहाँ से शुरू करने वाले हैं? Over to you.
So we're going to start off with the nursery rhymes themselves. That each person over here has a special nursery rhyme. They're going to discuss that. Along with that, we're going to highlight the origins and how these nursery rhymes were not nursery rhymes. They were actually certain events that happened in history, and then they were turned into nursery rhymes. I'd move to Aisha Adil. Her poem for the day is "London Bridge is Falling Down." So Aisha, over to you. How do you start?
Yes. Thank you, Sundar, and hello, everyone. It's wonderful being here. Thank you for having me. So basically, we're going to talk about a very famous poem known as London Bridge, and you all know the wordings. And basically, the historical element of building this bridge over the River Thames was what created the different elements of this poem. And it is listened to and heard and played as a game in different parts of the world in different manners, right? There are different variations of the poem, but the main of the nursery rhyme, but the main element is how this bridge was built and how it was sustained, right? So the darkness with this we're looking at the dark origins, is that London Bridge fell down. It was attacked by Vikings in 1016, and after which it had to be built up again. So there was this ancient superstition that some human sacrifice had to be made to maintain the foundation of the bridge. And that this is where the dark origin comes from, that children were buried within the foundation of that bridge to maintain its solid structure. Now, historically, no one has ever found human remains, but this is something, an urban legend that is attached to the building of the bridge. And it's kind of metaphoric. I mean, people have given their sweat and their blood and their toil for the building of capitalism. So if you think of it in that way, then we've all kind of been buried for the creation of something new. Then we mention My Fair Lady in this poem. So that is also a bit controversial, that who is that fair lady? It could be the Virgin Mary. Of course, she is fair and she is holy. But there's also another controversy that it could be a consort of King Henry I, Matilda of Scotland, or it could also be another consort of King Henry II. So we're teaching our children that fair ladies are consorts. So maybe this is a bit, the moral equation is questionable. Like Sir Murtaza said, that this sticks with us. The whole origin of the darkness may not be known to a child, but that somehow or the other leaves a subliminal message, right? And this bridge was important. It was historically important. There was a fire in London that spread throughout the banks of the River Thames, but because this bridge was damaged at that time, so that fire didn't spread to a certain area of London, it was protected. So there's a lot of good and bad things associated with it. But the main urban legend of children being buried in the foundation, that is questionable. All right, thank
Oh,
you.
I would take this question forward to Sir Murtaza. Sir Murtaza, fair lady, and then burying children, and then associating it all with London Bridge. This is like very complex. If I listen to London Bridge, there was a Fergie song on it. There was, a poem on it. I still listen to the London Bridge is falling down, falling down. So don't you think this is like very perplexed up till now? Even KQ, why do we conclude it together?
You see, before I do answer your question, when I was going through London Bridge is Falling Down, it's like because my daughter keeps on listening to it over and over again, and I'm a fan of Coco Melon as well. So yeah, it divides our attention. So you see, London Bridge is Falling Down. It's even if you do not talk about the origins and the darkness that it has on its foundation, even if you talk about its Cancerian type today, it's like if you're listening to London Bridge is Falling Down, you listen to it all day and then you're going back to bed. Okay, once you're in the bed, you're thinking about the bridge falling down, and of course, a toddler, any time of the day, any time of his life, her life, he or she must have crossed a bridge. Now she sees a bridge full of cars, traffic all day, and then the sound becomes the image. London Bridge is falling down becomes the image because she's
Falling
also
down.
looking at those bridges falling down. So what if that that nursery rhyme is being actuated onto something real? What if she is thinking about, an actual bridge falling down? So you see, mass murders and genocide, and all those things, all the atrocity that are connected to an actual bridge falling down. So don't you think that is something that you don't expose to a little child? So it's not only just the origins; it's about the impact it has with its wordings, its lexicals. So I would like to add on that.
That's very nice.
All
That's
right.
100% true. I would say, Faiza, do you want to agree to that or want to disagree? We want to know your point of view as well.
I absolutely agree with whatever Sir Murtaza said, because I've particularly chosen a nursery rhyme that even we as children have been singing all throughout our lives, and it's "Eeny Meeny Miny Mo." And what's so innocent about this particular rhyme is that we see children using it as one of the songs that they use during a tag game, or "I choose you, it's your turn." And there are so many other instances in the recent scenario that we see that have incorporated these particular words, but nobody delves into the details of what it actually means. Now, we're not actually discussing the true origins, because it's going to be a very long session. I think we need at least a few days for that. So I'll just quickly talk about what Sir Murtaza and Aisha similarly mentioned about subliminal messaging. I think literature is all about not just using your words, but about creating an image in your mind. When we talk about personification or literary techniques like imagery, we create that imagination in the minds of the reader to actually become a part of that scene that we're talking about in the poem.
Hmm.
So, particularly "Eeny Meeny Miny Mo," if you look at the words, they're pretty innocent. They're "Eeny Meeny Miny Mo, catch the tiger by its toe." But if we look at the origins of it, it's actually "Eeny Meeny Miny Mo, catch the N word, nigger by his toe." So I can pretty much relate it to what's going on in the world right now. If we take an example of Black Lives Matter movement, the George Floyd case, the third part of this poem particularly is "If he hollers, let him go." And it sort of creates a parallel with what the words of George Floyd were when he was dying. He said, "I can't breathe." So it sort of creates an image in your mind that a particular race or ethnicity is supposed to be targeted. You may not realize it, but as you grow up, you tend to connect those words with what's happening around in the world.
I
Absolutely
would
right.
totally agree to that.
Indeed, and the way we guys are discussing these points, I'm sure all of our audience they never looked at it this way, and that's like the real beauty of it. So before we move forward and discuss other poems, I would like to add on some comments from the audience. And as I said at the start, that we're really happy and glad to have Sir Murtaza. So, sir, you've got lots of fans. आपके लिए ठीक-ठाक comments
Oh,
हैं. So yeah,
oh
so
God.
है ना वो comments
This must be about my hair.
I- let's pehla comment. So we have with us Iram Tanvi. She
Iram
says,
Tanvi.
who can speak better on it than Muhammad Murtaza? So ये पहला
I've got a lot of people in the list.
okay.
I think the audience here, the people with me here, are speaking way better than what I can even imagine. So yeah, so
So Hamad
good to
Malik
see you,
is
sir.
with us. Yeah, he is happy to see you. We have with us Asma Khan और सर मुर्तजा के साथ ये emojis बहुत सारे जिसमें दिल बने हुए हैं
Oh,
सलमान खान था ना दबंग में ये वो वाला emoji. Right. So, and we have with us Ikra Asif Mughal. She says, "Great to see you, Sir Murtuza, and my all-class fellas." Right.
great to see you too.
अच्छा ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है सर ये आपके लिए सैयद वक्कास अहमद हमारे साथ हैं कहते हैं इस रूप और स्टाइल को देख के सर मुर्तजा के मैं पिघल गया तो
Oh, your
सर
law. रिश्ता भेजना चाहिए.
all right, I'll add on more comments. Iram Tanvi says, all brilliant minds together. We have with us Fatma. She says, my folks, respected Sir Murtuza. And हमारी मैम नादिया कलीम भी हमारे साथ हैं. She says, good to see you all. And we have with us Shazia Anwar. She's welcoming everyone. Then we have with us Anna Malik, Annie Kamal. And I'll keep including the messages. Vania Khan hai. माहीन ज़हीर है हमारे साथ, और आगे मैं कमेंट्स यूज़ करता हूँ क्योंकि बहुत सारे हैं ना. लेट्स मूव ऑन विद
Aisha Najmi is also trying to join. Umar, if you can say that, if we can bring her back in.
Okay, so
Hi,
Aisha,
Aisha.
Aisha,
Hello.
Hello.
I've been trying
Okay,
quite
I'm
long, but
going
my
to
internet
introduce
wasn't
you.
working.
It's okay. It's fine, Aisha. We can understand sometimes, glitches happen. We cannot take over that. So we have with us the third person who was about, Aisha Najmi. She is a student of Masters in Literature. She works as a subject lead for English language trainer, teacher at Beacon House Primary 2. Aisha, I welcome you, and good
Thank
to
you
see
so
you now.
much. No, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, I'm back.
yes, finally you're back. So coming back to the point, we were discussing Eeny, Meeny, Miny,
Yeah.
Mo, and Faiza gave a take. So I'll move to Sir Murtuza. And Sir Murtuza, what are your views on what Faiza said?
You see, they talk about one of the fundamentals here is class system. All right, so they talk about black people turning out to be the lowest of bottom feeders, right? And we see that eminent in the case of George Floyd, like Pfizer has told about us, which is a sad reality. And even after years of getting into humanity, and even after years of evolution of the mindset, we are still delving into that nomenclature of that orthodox setup. All right. And with that, I was thinking about when she was talking about Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Moe, I was even thinking about this popular Urdu poem that we have, Nani Teri Morni Ko Mor Le Gayi. I think all of you have listened to that. And it doesn't talk about chor le gaye. It says kale chor le gaye. So it's not just those beautifying creams which talk about कि गोरा कर दे आपको और गोरा निखार जो है वो फेयर लेडी जैसे मिस आयशा आदिल ने कहा यहाँ पर सॉरी द एन वर्ड करके उन्होंने ब्लैक्स को डिस्मिस किया तो नानी तेरी मोरनी में भी जो चोर हैं वो काले हैं तो काला गंदा है and it's this stupid mindset that has been impinging our society for so long and because this is existing and being repeated drilled into our mind. I mean all of us are teachers here and we know that drilling is an important technique for a child, right? So poems drill into our minds, all right? So काले चोर is something that कि नहीं रिश्ता नहीं चाहिए ये तो काली लड़की है या लड़का काला है या नहीं ये मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगा तो this is something which is sad and so realistic in today's world and it's something that we can't come out with even though we call ourselves modernists and that we are nothing matters to us we don't care about those genders we don't care about your ethnicity we don't care about those things but it does we are lying to ourselves because
So
it is
true.
deep set rooted into our minds it's deep
That's so
set
true.
rooted.
I would take this point
Absolutely.
forward, and I would actually conclude to the fact that as a nation, we've become actually very deluded and we're sublimed about it all. We have saturated this in ourselves that how we are looking is the basic matter of how should everything evolve around us. Me as a person who's working and going out every day, I see there are thousands of girls being rejected even on interviews in professional backgrounds because they don't look good. They usually I'm talking about the hijab as well over here. They carry a hijab, or sometimes they're darker in tone. So I definitely agree to your points, Murtaza, and this is a very, very crucial point that we need to discuss and we need to put out forward in the generation that it's not about fair lady anymore. It's just about a lady or a man or a person.
And
I'm
sometimes
going.
it's not just about girls. I can see more and more fairness creams in the men's section in the supermarket these days, which shows that the men are even more conscious about the complexion now, and that is a thing to worry about.
Aisha,
Absolutely.
let's start off with yours. You had another poem. Let's discuss that one as well.
The Baa Baa Black Sheep, yes.
Yeah.
I would like to
Yeah.
disclose the reality, the real meaning behind the Baa Baa Black Sheep today, as it was one of my favorite rhymes. And obviously, as it's visible from the title, it's about sheep. And I would like to highlight that. I just want to touch the background of it a little. Sheep at that time, the wool trade was considered a big business. 18th century, when it was written. It was written in 18th century. Edward I was ruling at that time, and he imposed new rules, new tax rules on people. And the people at that time were not given this much space to speak directly. because they had a fear of persecution. So what they did was they took a smart move and they constructed some clever rhymes like this, like Baba Black Sheep, in which it's basically a complaint of a shepherd boy who is not getting his due right amount of profit from all the amount of hard work that he's getting. If I could just read out the real original version, it says something like that: two, two for the master, one for the dame, which is the church,
Okay.
and none for the little boy who cries down the lane. This is the original version of this rhyme, which is telling the grief of a young shepherd boy who is getting nothing in return. And even we can relate it to a this real world scenario as well: the exploitation of a labor working class who is putting in all the effort and is hardly getting any profit, as compared to the producer who is enjoying the luxurious life. So the class system. So this child, I don't know how much discussion is being done so far, but I would just say that this rhyme, the Baba Black Sheep, impact of this rhyme on the child will be there, long lasting. Why? Because he is surrounded by people like us, adults like us, and we are not one of those people who ask the children to go out of the room as we are talking something important, like our elders have done. To be honest, this child is exposed to each and everything. This is today's child, all right. And when you talk about the term black sheep, this term has a very interesting meaning. If you open the Oxford Dictionary, it tells you about a person of the family. I'm just reading out the meaning. It says something like this: who is a source of embarrassment for the family, who is different from the family. So this
Right.
term black, if I look at the term black, the Faiza must have discussed the element of racism in her poem. She must have highlighted nigger.
Yes, she
But
did.
I would just want to touch upon all the three aspects, starting from international Black Lives Matter to the society where I just discussed about the fairness, use of fairness cream. No one wants a Kali Bahu, no one wants a black husband, no one wants a black wife, no one wants a black daughter or a son even. A mother never, if you ask a mother what kind of son do you want, would you accept a black son? He never, her first wish would never be a black son or a daughter.
As
This is
in,
the mind.
on the contrary, me and Sir Murtaza, we both support black.
You support
Oh
black,
my.
you're wearing black.
We're talking
You're
about
Uh,
wearing
morbidity.
black.
So
We're
Faiza is
talking
in
about
middle of you both, and she's supporting black and white both.
I'm
uh,
supporting
Black and
all
white.
every
I should have worn
ethnicity
black
and
as
race
well. I
that
must.
yeah,
exists, every gender
back
as
to
well.
you, Aisha.
Yeah.
Back to you, Aisha.
So
Yeah. So I was just highlighting this. You need to understand this mindset. This child is being raised by adults like us, who have unknowingly accepted this prime Baba Black Sheep, happily singing it throughout. That means in our subconscious, we have accepted the fact that black is different, black is inferior. That's why we have happily accepted Black Sheep, Baba Black Sheep. We didn't question it, but in our subconscious, we have accepted this idea of a black sheep. Are you getting me? The black
Yes, I
is
would. I would
different. The black
definitely
is
take Aisha
superior.
Najmi's point that we take this point forward. Aisha Adil, what would you say about this? This is a
Yes,
very huge and strong topic.
Yes, true.
definitely, definitely. And with what's happening in the US, I think that, like Sir Murtaza said, that I like the fact that he picked on a poem that was not from English literature, but rather from our own culture in Urdu. Because it's so easy for our youngsters. My son is very actively following what is happening in the US, and he keeps on talking about Black Lives Matter. He sits us down, he wants to have a debate. But you see, they're looking at it from a point of view that is not their own, right? It's all whitewashed. And when I talk to him about what's happening locally, they're unable to understand that. But I really like the fact that this was highlighted, that even our own literature at times is brainwashing us towards things that are anti whatever, right? Maybe race, maybe color, maybe gender. So I think we as literature teachers, because all of us are teachers and we're learners, we need to spread this word that it's not just about white supremacy. It is about our own culture and how we're being gradually and slowly brainwashed into these elements that have entered society. Like Aisha Najmi said, they're they're embedded in us, and it's so hard to bring them out.
Absolutely. And
Definitely.
I thank you. I thank all of you guys for raising this topic today, because I'm sure many of your audience never looked at it this way before. And by spreading this kind of awareness, it's very important for the parents to know and realize that what their toddlers are seeing.
Actually,
At the start, where Sir Murtaza quoted very rightly that there's also the positive side of these poems, that even I have a toddler in my house, and she's so good with her accent. She knows all the colors, all the fruits. So that's all because she heard it in the poetries. So, but at the same time, it's very important and essential to realize that what our children are seeing and what it actually means. So, this is such an informative and useful session.
that's so true.
And
I
Umar,
would
it's
I
not
would
only for
actually
the it's not only for the teachers. I would say it's for you as well, because I have seen brothers singing out this rhyme to their small younger sisters. It's for the mothers, it's for the fathers, it's for everyone. Each and every person sing out rhymes to the relatives, small kids. It's not restricted to teachers only. I guess it's for each and everyone.
that's so
Absolutely,
true.
yeah,
I think at
agree.
the end of
Adding
the
up to
day, it
this,
all comes.
Yeah,
yes,
Faiza,
yes,
please.
it it all comes down to how we treat these certain discourses that we see around the world. I mean, fine, we're talking about Black Lives Matter, but what is important is that how are we treating racism on a national level in our country? How do we treat people who are of a different color? So, I think the awareness itself, now there are certain views where people say that, if you're talking about Black Lives Matter, what's happening in your own country? Why don't you speak about that as well? So I think
Exactly.
this particular incident of George Floyd itself was like a stimulation for a big movement world over, not just in the US but internationally. And even if we take an example of the subcontinent, I was reading in the news recently that Unilever has been recently pushed by protesters to rebrand its products Fair and Lovely, and it's actually being forced to remove the word fair from its
Yes.
product. So
Fair.
we see the kind of
Yeah.
movements that people have the power to move ahead. And I think every person in the society has an issue. Even if there is one voice that speaks out, it can create a ripple effect and take the whole movement itself forward on a big
Right,
level.
right.
Acha,
that's
today we have picked up three poems, right? But
mm,
overall, there are around 24 poems which have really dark history. So, in the end, I can just sum up by saying that we all need to come out of that old tradition rhymes and, ask the children to create new rhymes. The 4 and 5-year-old children are very smart these days. They're exposed to different things. Their mind is much more smarter than us, and they can come up with excellent ideas. A rhyme with a mess which they can create a rhyme which has a message of hope and love and innocence rather than misery and wow. you know
And I'll add on to this. I have a 2.5-year-old toddler in my house, and she's making her own rhymes. You don't
See.
need to be 5. She's 2.5, and whatever she wants, like if she wants balloons, so she'll be like, Umar, go buy me balloons, buy me balloons. And I like, oh God. So kids these days are brilliant. So this, if we can add on some comments from the audience.
yes, definitely. I would add Miss Nadia Kaleems.
Yeah.
First of all, Miss Nadia was behind this idea, so I thank you her for actually giving us support and giving us the
Definitely.
horizons of different what should I say, literature views. Miss Nadia says that we as teachers need to inculcate slogan Black is divine. We do ishq with Kali Kamli, holy black walls of Kana. Enough of hypocrisy.
The holy
Kama.
black walls of Kaaba, she misspelled
Kaaba.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. My bad.
Okay.
So she says enough of hypocrisy.
Okay. Add another comment from Fatma. If you
How
can.
Fatma is actually one of our, master's English linguistics literature students as well. Her name is Saman, and she says how Umar and Hana channel adding Hadith and Quran verses in rhymes and conveying the message of Islam to innocent minds, which is a great way. So
Absolutely.
basically, she's talking about
Can I
those,
say something to
rhymes
this,
these
Simran?
days. Yeah, yeah. Why not? Add on.
Can I answer this? When my children were young and they were going to this organization to study the Holy Quran and Qira'at and everything. They got this collection of poetry that was written for children especially, and I think it's also available on YouTube, where we start our day with Bismillah, we wake up in the morning with Bismillah, and they were beautiful songs. They were beautiful to date. We remember them, and sometimes we chant them in the house. And I really like how Saman has brought this up and sort of jogged my memory on this. So they're available on YouTube, and we can share them with our children anytime. And yeah, so this is a good way to inculcate not just religion but purity in our children as well.
That's so true. I would add Anna Malik's comment as well. The naive mind knows none of these notions unless it knows when we have delved into with a conscious and curious mind. Anna Malik is also one of our alumnus. She's, a great person to talk to it. So I totally agree to her. And Greenwich University's self message is here. Does our literature promote colorism in some way? Sir Murtaza, over to you.
I missed that part again.
I said, does our literature promote colorism in some way?
Okay, it's like it all depends on how it's
You
been
perceive it.
conditioned, as in if we are coming into literature at the age of 30, 24, 25, 22, so we are well matured enough to have already formed those inculcations, those foundations. So they are already it's already too late to to get into that part. I think as literature students, if we are promoting colorism, or if you're denouncing it, even, it's too late at this stage. We have to catch them when they're young. So I think talking about it or discussing about it for the betterment for our future generations is something that we can do. Besides that, not really. If someone has a better answer for this, you can just take
Yeah,
over,
why not?
because I'm all
Iram's
over ideas
comment
here.
is also very nice. I would add her comment. Iram says that this has been a long time struggle, the time of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., decades and decades of slavery, for decades and decades, I'm sorry, of slavery followed by systematic oppression of minority based on the color of their skin. I agree with Faiza that how can we bring change to it? As Ms. Nadia just suggested, what teachers can do about it. So I would add to this that 100% as a teacher, we hold a very important part in the world. Even as moms or dads or individuals who are just living and breathing, anybody can make a change as long as they want to make the change. I would take Aisha Adil. Aisha Adil's Facebook page actually holds very important value as well. She actually talks about all the mental health issues over there. She tries to talk to people, even when somebody's posting. I remember I posted a very dark poem. And the first thing Aisha did was, message me, Sundus, are you okay? Is everything okay with you? Should I come over? And I'm like, no, Aisha, it just came to me. So, Aisha, I want you to talk about it.
Okay, all right. Thank you for including this subject here, Sundas, because it's a subject of huge importance, especially with this lockdown and with the situation that the world is facing. I probably created this page maybe 6 months ago. It's called Cottage Cheese, an awareness group for mental and disability health. And the reason why I call it cottage cheese is because when milk goes sour, you make something out of it. So basically, what I'm saying is that when you're suffering, when you're in some turmoil, something good is coming out of it, right? Define normal. Normal is what? Normal is whatever is accepted. I'm not saying that we should not seek help. If somebody is suffering from mental health, they should definitely seek help. But what I'm trying to say is that we're here to help you. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not a trained person. My page says that much. But I just want it to be a platform for people to share ideas, to share their thoughts, and to maybe help each other. And I like the fact that you're active there, Sundas. You do leave messages sometimes in the inbox, which I address there. But it's a safe haven. It's a safe place where anyone can come, share their ideas, share their opinion, maybe voice out their concerns, especially now with this situation. And I try to share motivational stuff there. Yeah, so this is what I do there. Thank
I've
you.
always seen Umar being a very big advocate of, positivity and mental health issues. I even saw some of his shows with his friends regarding mental health issues on depressions and everything. Umar, what is your point on it? That how much do you think that the topic that we took, nursery rhymes, has a very important impact on mental health as well?
Well, first thing is that the first 5 years of any child is the prime time for his development in his personality and everything. So, उस time period में whatever the child is absorbing, observing, and subconscious mind में उसकी चीजें आ रही हैं, as we were like there are messages between lines and things happen. So that does leave an impact on the personality. Now we see that children are very aggressive. They keep breaking things. Why? Because they see Tom and Jerry in cartoons. That's only teaching destruction, right? All the cartoons that we see around is
Absolutely.
everyone beating each other. So that's where children learn the aggressive things from. At the same time, we had this comment where the person mentioned that we use Hadith and Quran for getting information about Islam and promoting Islam. So at the same time, where we discussed the whole racism thing, there was this animated movie on Hazrat Bilal named Bilal, and Islam ended all the racism topics because Hazrat Bilal was a Habshi, and he was the first one in the history of Islam to give azan. So Allah gave him that honor. So when it comes to our religion, there is no racism. So
That's so
talking about
true.
these things that we have to understand. And thank you all for raising this topic because there is such good awareness with this topic. We realize that what's happening around us because many of
Exactly.
us, what happens that when you have a toddler in house, you get irritated and you say like video laga ke chhod do, and you're not actually noticing what your children is looking at. And children
Exactly.
these days are so smart that a 2 3 year old knows how to switch the videos. They know what to watch. So
That's so true.
you have to
I
keep an eye on what they're watching and how it's affecting them.
Yeah, I would always, I see Faiza. Faiza has been this core person in our classroom who gives us the update of what's happening right now, what happened in the back, what's going to happen. She's like this person who knows it all, and we're all just looking at her when she's talking. Faiza, your point of view on this, because, I really want to know that. What do you want to say?
I would absolutely second what Umar said because I think religion itself, especially in our culture, has a very powerful impact on the minds of people, a very positive impact. And most importantly, religion itself, any religion, not just Islam, but culture and religion go hand in hand. So I think that treating a particular race or ethnicity in a bad way, in a negative manner, has a very bad impact on the society overall, because as I mentioned, they go hand in hand. So like the other day, as you mentioned, Miss Nadia, the topic itself was her idea, which was very interesting.
Yes.
So I was having a conversation with her, and she mentioned the cricketer's case, Daryl Sammy. So this is what's happening in our culture as well. When we talk about the recent scenario that we see around, he was called Kallu, which is a very offensive term for somebody who may not even understand it at first. And I think what is deeply embedded behind this type of thinking is the Gora complex that we have, the white complex, which is because of years of colonization that we've been under. This is exactly why we are mostly the subcontinent is, as I mentioned earlier, it's the one that is promoting such skin brightening creams without even analyzing the disastrous impact it has on one's skin. It can cause skin cancer, other than the cultural stigma that's attached with it. So I think it's charity begins at home. So the kind of environment you create at home, that's the first step towards creating a change. And I believe even this live session that we are having, all those people who are listening to us, somehow they we I really hope we might be able to change somebody's mindset, or maybe even if it's just one person who can take the message forward, it would be great.
Indeed,
Exactly.
indeed. And thank
Yeah,
you all.
Star, I need
Yeah, please, sir.
Yeah, I just need to refresh on what we're doing here to the audience. It's like we're not trying to eradicate the use of nursery rhymes and everything. We're just trying to filter it in a way that everything that is bad, sinister, evil, and all those things can be filtered away. And we were talking
Absolutely.
about Islam and everything, but I have a different perception of it. I think maintaining poems on a secular level would be best fitting because religion is a personal choice, and it's something which is very personal to people. And of course, this is an Islam oriented place, and we are blessed with it. But keeping it secular would be best. And for the ones who actually want to promote their religion to their children, they can do so. They can, manipulate the wordings into an already existing rhyme and do it to their favors. So I think promotion of humanity here and equal rights is something that is of more prominence. And
Yeah.
Omar talked about Tom and Jerry, so I'm glad he brought up cartoon, because it's not only limited to nursery rhymes. The cancer has spread through our cartoons. It's also in our stories. You look at Red Riding Hood, and everyone knows that story. You talk about the Piper of Hamilton, everyone knows that story, and it's very dark and it's bleak, to an extent that there's murder, there's killing, there's eating, there's mutilation, and there's what does the Piper do? He just doesn't drive away all the mouse to the sea. He also caves all the children and puts a boulder right in front of it. So he suffocates the entire town's and entire village's children. And that is something which is extremely dark. You're taking away the children. And what are you actually trying to get across? What message are you actually trying to get across? So this is something that has to be filtered. I'm not saying that you eradicate the entirety of it, because it does promote benefits to it as well. But you've got to make sure that as a parent, as a teacher, that you're responsible enough to know these things and that you filter it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take some time. It's like there are the people in the audience. There might be some of them who will just laugh it off, saying that this doesn't really have a significant impact on us. I mean, look at me, I'm fine, but you're not fine. None of us are fine. As in, we are all susceptible to this deep set paranoia, the psychological distress that is there, and it's called a deep set psychological trauma for a reason, because you don't really feel it impacting your body, and it's not a physical disability like a lisp or a limp or a broken arm that you can see it, and it doesn't heal like that as well. It's something there to stay. All right. So as long as the brain is functioning, it's going to have its sweet time in your mind, corroding it. All right. And we all know the story of the turtle and the hare and the tortoise, right? Slow and steady wins the race. So this cancer is slow and steady, and it's going to win. It is going to win. So we need to be especially wary of it. It is going to win. Um, um, so I'll come back to colorism, which we were talking about. All right. So the question was if our literature is promoting colorism, literature to the extent that we are learning here. I mean, all of my students know that literature is a spontaneous overflow of emotions, right? And it says spontaneous.
Yeah.
Spontaneous means it just comes. So whoever you are, you're going to just regurgitate that onto paper, and it's going to make millions of copies. All right. So that is the person's personal persona, that is, if you can label as such. So it's a biography of that person, regurgitated on paper, and that's what you read. So whatever his personal opinions are, that is something that you're reading it off. So it's not that we are clustering all those literary texts together and discussing colorism or promoting it. We've done post-colonialism, and we've read Chinua Achebe's lash out on um, what's that
Heart
guy's
of
name?
Darkness.
Yeah,
Heart of Darkness.
what's his by? Why do I keep forgetting the name? Who is it by? Why do I keep forgetting the name?
Um,
And this
yeah,
is a
I'm
literature
forgetting
teacher.
it. too.
So yeah, you see,
But
they're
the
going to be
points the
lashing
point
out.
you're bringing forward, sir, is definitely the point that we're all trying to bring forward. I would like to thank each one of you, Aisha Adil, Faiza Sheraz, Aisha Najmi, Sir Murtaza. Thank you so much for not taking my no for a yes, and just coming. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Omar, for giving literature students the platform they needed to speak out and just say what has always been said. The master students were always in the dark and not showing off much, but I'm so happy to see all my fraternity over here with me. So any last words, you guys, before we end wrap it up? How was your experience? I'll start with Aisha Adil.
Okay, thank you, Sundas. I think this was great, and I liked how Sir Murtaza summed it up for all of us. Definitely, we just want to create an awareness. This is educational. We're not sermonizing, we are not drawing the line anywhere. We just want parents and teachers and young adults themselves to be aware that if there's a literature that they are reading, they should know the impact of that literature on their minds. And literature is very powerful. The media is very powerful. It's a power for good and for bad. It creates generations of intelligent people, revolutionaries. But again, we are not sermonizing. We just want to create an awareness. Thank you.
That's so true. Faiza, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for having us here. I would just say it once again because I think the mind of a child is so tender. As Umar mentioned earlier, the initial five years of a child's life are the most important. They create the base throughout your life. So it was very important to talk about the dark origins of children rhymes because it gave us a reason to delve into other aspects, other intricate matters that we need to be highlighted on a public platform. And I think it gives a wonderful opportunity to have a discussion on this topic, and not just nursery rhymes, but I think any kind of discourse, even the simple language that you use in everyday life. You should always be careful when you have children around, because I have a 4-year-old as well, and sometimes he appalls me when I act a certain way, and then he gives me an answer back. So I'm like, okay, so he was listening to what I was saying or how I was acting. So children pick up like anything. They are, mashallah, very fast, quick learners. We used to be pretty dumb, I think, when back in our childhood. So it's all the exposure, the technology that they're exposed to. So I think it all should begin at home on an individual level.
Totally agree.
That's so
Yes.
true, Aisha
Aisha.
Nasreen.
Well, I would just say that after when I decided that I'm going to explore and research about Baba Black Sheep to present it to you people, um, I had to go through a lot of other things. I'm a literature student, right? And normally, from a literature student, it is still expected from other people that you're a literature student, you must be reading only romantic novels. But when we start researching about something, we have to study psychology because we have to understand the subconscious mind of a child. We have to study business a little because we had to understand the class gap, the class system which was reflected through it. We have to study many other subjects in order to understand the theories of literature. So literature is actually helping to broaden our vision in a much it exposes so many things. And for all those who still believes that literature, people still ask me this question, and many other feel the same, must agree on this, that why literature, literature, why? Because still people believe that literature, if you will study literature, you will not earn much, but you will learn much. So that's what I want to convey the message. Second, um, as far as today's topic is concerned, nursery rhymes. Me, I am a mother, as of a 5-year-old child. So I'm more conscious about his physical health, how he looks like. Is he looking healthy? Is he running? Is he, is he smiling? But I'm less concerned about his mental health. But after going through the research of these rhymes, I have started thinking more about his mental health now. This rhyme, research will has actually, changed my thinking a little. So I hope that some of you, those who are listening to me right now, will also think the same way and try to be more concerned about this mental health, as you're concerned about the physical health.
Yeah, Sir Murtaza.
Uh, yeah, everyone has summed it up, but it's like we're listening to poets who are, we are exposing our children to poetry and poets who are borderline misanthrope. I mean, the entire subject of the poems imply death, fatal injury. You take the simplest of poems, even Humpty Dumpty, fatal injury, Rockabye Baby, infanticide, there's genocide, there's animal mutilation, the three blind mice. The three blind mice. I mean, it's okay for people to just grab mice, cut off their tail. So animal mutilation, animal cruelty, racism, infanticide. I mean, Rockabye Baby is something that I used to, as a lullaby for my daughter. And it's like the cradle, the bough breaks and the cradle falls.
Outbreak.
It's on the tree top. It's on the tree top. And
Hmm.
we're talking about infanticide here, and everyone is okay with it and guilty as charged. Also, Ring Around a Rosie, which is actually Pakistani version of Ringa Ringa Roses. We have that. Yeah, Ringa Ringa. So we all fall down. So what I did was like, it was actually about this black plague that we have those rashes on us, and we start to sneeze, and it kills us because it's ashes, and the actual version is ashes, ashes. We all fall down. So fall down is
All
like
fall
death,
down.
which is. What I did was change it to we changed it to a chew, right? We changed it to mere sneezing. So I changed that, even because it's like sneezing and falling down is like death. So I changed that to like awoo, awoo, because we're all rotating, like it's making us dizzy. So I changed it for my daughter. I said, "Well, awoo, awoo, we all fall down." It's like we are falling down because we are dizzy. So that takes out the mar effect of it, the marring effect of it. So I think we can just make those subtle changes, which are enough for a child to come out of that shell of morbidity.
And
Besides that, I think that,
and all the desis who used to sing this Ringa Ringa Roses, so for them it was Hasha, Pusha, we all fall down. So thank you so much.
so we have all those variations.
Right.
Yeah, indeed.
Anything that drives you away from the morbidity that it entails.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
thank you all so much for joining this session. It was so good to have you all at one page and discussing literature. It was such an informative and eye-opening session for all the parents, for all the people, and for everyone, who never looked at the nursery rhyme this way. So I think the perspectives are definitely going to change, and we'll definitely have another literature session next week on Friday. So everyone, stay safe, keep smiling, and thank you all for joining.
You too. Thank you, Omar.
Thank
Take
you so
care.
much, Omar. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure
Bye.
You
having you
take care. Stay safe.
Welcome, welcome. So, guys, this was all for today's session. You heard the literature review on the dark sides of nursery rhymes. And this was all for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another session, with another guest, with another topic. You can always give your feedback in the comments. Where you can tell us what kind of topics you want to appear in the future and what kind of guests you want to see at live sessions. So until next time, keep smiling, stay positive, and stay safe. Pakistan, Zindabad.